To understand the chaotic and dramatic nature of naval warfare during the Second World War, one must look at the story of the French battleship Richelieu. She was not just a marvel of engineering, but a floating symbol of a nation torn apart by war, fighting for its very survival. Built in the late 1930s to counter the expansion of the Italian Navy, the Richelieu was a masterpiece of French design that shattered traditional naval architecture. Her designers made a radical choice. They placed all 8 of her massive 380mm main guns on the front of the ship, housed in 2 unique quadruple turrets. The true legacy of the Richelieu lies in her unbelievable wartime journey. In June 1940, as France was collapsing under the German Blitzkrieg, the battleship was only 95% complete. Refusing to let this crown jewel fall into Nazi hands, her crew executed a daring midnight escape from Brest, sailing out into the Atlantic just ahead of advancing German troops to seek refuge in Dakar, West Africa. Following the French surrender, the Richelieu remained under the control of the Vichy regime. Fearing that Germany might seize the vessel, Great Britain made the heartbreaking decision to attack their former ally. Between July and September 1940, the Royal Navy repeatedly targeted the Richelieu in Dakar. During the fierce Battle of Dakar, she found herself in a tragic duel, firing her massive guns against British battleships, former brothers-in-arms turned enemies by the geopolitics of war. No longer a target, the Richelieu became a liberator. She spent the remainder of the war serving proudly alongside the British Eastern Fleet in the Indian Ocean, hammering Japanese positions and securing victory in the Pacific. When the war finally ended, she proudly sailed into Singapore to witness the Japanese surrender. The Richelieu represents the ultimate story of resilience. She survived political chaos, torpedo attacks, and the heartbreak of fighting her own allies, ultimately emerging as a triumphant symbol of free France. While she was eventually scrapped in 1968, her legacy as one of the most resilient and uniquely designed battleships in history lives on. Richelieu is an old battleship that's already in the game. It shares a similar playstyle with the Tier 8 Russian battleship Borodino, and, aside from its engine accelerator, it has no skill pool to speak of. It's a vertical positioning ship that those who love, truly love. Today we're going to break down what's new in the 39 version and inspect it closely. But first, let's talk setup and equipment. I'm actually in the camp that isn't happy with the equipment changes. Personally, I had zero issues with how the old gear worked. I don't know who was asking for a revamp here, but I'm definitely one of those players missing the old familiar setup. Honestly, I've been so unimpressed by the weird situations created by all these equipment nerfs that I've started leaving some slots completely empty on certain ships. I'm really not a fan of changing up my habits for things that bring almost no real value to my playstyle. If there's anything in the equipment department that you actually like or find useful, feel free to share it down below. But in the current state of things, I just don't see how we're getting any uniquely tailored builds out of this. To evaluate all of this properly, we need to see how the whole bond mechanic and the secondary equipment sets mentioned in the patch notes actually play out. The real question is, how is this bond economy going to work? Either way, it looks like I'll be complaining about this for months to come and running around with an "I want my old equipment back" hashtag. My expectations for improving the overall match experience go way beyond just swapping out equipment setups. Anyone currently playing Tier X knows the situation there has become downright miserable. I really think something needs to be done about Tier 8 and Tier X. On top of that, hybrid and aircraft carrier divisions need to be capped, or at least have proper rules placed on them. The need for more effective anti-aircraft counterplay against carriers is still very real. But out of all these issues, I genuinely don't get how equipment jumped to the top of the agenda when it wasn't even on the radar. Okay guys, enough complaining. Let's compare these two ships. Looking at the stats, Level 2 scout plane boosts range by 16% for 30 seconds, while Level 1 precise aiming increases accuracy by 25% for 20 seconds. The engine accelerator level was dropped to Level 1, but you still get 2 charges. Health-wise, there's a solid HP increase of over 2,000. Since both scout plane and precise aiming provide better dispersion throughout the match, we can already say on paper that the main guns are performing better. Even with minor nerfs to mobility and speed, a 2-second drop in main gun reload time is a massive difference. While HE shellfire chance took a 2% hit, that barely means anything for a battleship. Meanwhile, AP shell damage is slightly higher. The original Richelieu had surprisingly good base anti-air values despite having no AA skills. In the 39 version, I at least expected it to stay the same. Nerfing it was definitely a letdown. That one hurts, honestly. The secondary reload is 0.8 seconds faster now, though that's not really a game changer. There's also a slight improvement in concealment. But here's an interesting detail. While the historical unique camouflage for the regular Richelieu gives identical stats, on the Richelieu 39, it actually makes a difference. The Maid of Orleans unique camo surprisingly boosts your secondary battery and speed. The ship was never a brawler, maybe boosts against Russian destroyers. There are no changes to the barrel count or caliber size. Ultimately, it remains a reliable battleship for vertical positioning that can comfortably hold its own in the chaotic, messy environment of Tier 8. The main thing to remember with this bow-tanking playstyle is to never expose your stern to the enemy. Positioned vertically, these ships present a tiny, tough-to-hit target, but from behind, they're completely defenseless. What we have here is a buffed version of a historically iconic ship. With a broadened skill pool, Richelieu 39 offers a smoother playstyle, even if it doesn't completely revolutionize the core experience. At the risk of sounding cliché, the Blitz Pass remains the most cost-effective and value-packed bundle available when you factor in the resources, gold, commanders, and ships. If you don't already own the Richelieu, grabbing this is a no-brainer. And if you already have the original Richelieu in your port, think of this version as a nicely buffed variation. That's all from me for now. Take care of yourselves, and until next time.
Enemy force sighted on the horizon. force sighted on the horizon. I strike with the Emperor's fist! Immediately! Confirm penetration! The hand of the Emperor guides me! Enemy force detected. Penetration! The hand of the Emperor guides me! Enemy force detected. Detected. Penetration! The hand of the Emperor guides me! Target penetrated! I strike with the Emperor's fist! Penetration! The hand of the Emperor guides me! it immediately! Force detected. Unacceptable! Contain it immediately! Immediately! Enemy force sighted on the horizon! You have my gratitude. By the Emperor, it shall be done. Penetration! Praise the Emperor! Penetration! The hand of the Emperor guides me! Engine boost activated. Confirm penetration! The hand... the Emperor guides me! Fire alarm! Unacceptable! Contain it immediately! Target penetrated! I strike with the Emperor's fist! Penetration! Praise the Emperor! Engine... Confirm penetration! The hand of the Emperor guides me! I strike with the Emperor's fist! Penetration! The hand of the Emperor guides me! penetrated, I strike with the Emperor's fist! Enemy is about to win! A true servant never yields to doubt! Penetration! Praise the Emperor! Penetration! The hand of the Emperor guides me! Confirm penetration! The hand of the Emperor guides me! Glory to the Emperor! Sighted on the horizon. Target penetrated. I strike with the Emperor's fist. Unacceptable! Contain it immediately! Enemy force sighted on the horizon! Sighted on the horizon. Penetration! Praise the Emperor! of the Emperor guides me! Engine boost activated. Enemy force detected. Target penetrated. I strike with the Emperor's fate.